Hi everybody, this is Dawn Kuhn, and I'm the author of the website www.embraceyournormal.com, and I'm here today to give you a little update. This video is sort of a follow-up to an article I wrote called Finding Out What Is Actually Isn't. And if you haven't read that article, I encourage you to read it before you watch this video. In fact, I'll post a link in the comments to the article because that'll sort of give you a background to what this video is all about. But if you've been following our journey, I have an amazing update for you that I want to give. We have received our initial results of our QEEG testing that we did 5 weeks ago at the PMP Center in Dallas. Now, what's so important about this particular test, if you read the article, is it is the test that has given me as a mental health mom the most information about my two children that have mental health disorders. I have a 12-year-old son who was diagnosed 5 years ago as bipolar, who we found out is not bipolar, and I have an 11-year-old son who was diagnosed with severe ADHD 5 years ago, who in fact does not have ADHD, and we found this out 5 weeks ago. So today yesterday I should say, I got the actual reports back, and I wanted to share a couple things with you. Now, I'll spare you all of the big words because a lot of these words are like 45 letters long and I would die of embarrassment trying to pronounce them. But I wanted to share a couple of the specific results that came in an effort to spread awareness to other mental health moms who I hope are watching this. First of all, my son, who was told 5 years ago he had ADHD, on this QEEG, it showed that, I'm reading directly from the report, that he has a low theta to beta ratio. Now, why that's important is 3 sentences down, it says an elevated theta to beta ratio is 90% accurate in identifying ADHD. So what that means is, if you think your child has ADHD and they do the QEEG test, they can tell you with 90% accuracy whether or not your child actually has ADHD. But nobody's doing these tests. These tests are not readily available. My son actually has the opposite, which means they can tell me with 90% accuracy he does not in fact have ADHD. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about the medications, but I've been medicating my son with narcotics for 5 years because I was told he had ADHD. Now I find out he doesn't. My other son, who was told 5 years ago that he was bipolar, turns out he is not bipolar, and again, I'm reading directly from the results. What happened is he has epileptiform, which is a big word for very small seizures. Like, he doesn't have epilepsy where he's failing on the ground. He just has them ongoing constantly in his brain. So he has epileptiform with a single focus on the left part of his brain. What this can present as is my son having blank looks, staring spells, attention deficits. There are periods of times where he is literally, when he's seizing, not able to process any information at all, zero zilch. Symptoms associated include difficulties with attention, impulsivity, oppositional defiant behaviors, judgment, memory, emotional expression, emotional understanding, cognitive process of language, and cognitive process of spatial information, difficulty with integration or other information, difficulty getting stuck on a thought or behavior without resolve, having a perfectionistic personality. Oh my gosh, that just all describes my son to a T. And it sounds like a kid who's bipolar, but he's not bipolar. He's having seizures, not treated the same. So I've been medicating my son on a variety of different medications, from lithium to Depakote to Risperdal, you name it. He's been on it over the last 5 years and none of it has worked. Why? Well, because he's not bipolar, but that's how he was diagnosed, or misdiagnosed, I should say. Now, I'm just a mom. Guys, I'm just a plain Jane mom. I got the mom bun. Like, there's nothing special about me at all. But I wanted to jump on. I'm on my way to the grocery store, but I just dropped the kids off at camp, and I just can't wait another minute, to share our journey of misdiagnosis and being wrongfully medicated in an effort to help others. I mean, this is so important. The mental health mom community is like a close-knit family, and I feel like we have to be able to reach out and minister and help each other. Now, I can tell you that the primary resolve, if you will, or the way to help, quote unquote, fix my son's seizures and my other son's issues that he's having dropping packets between the different parts of his brain is something called neurofeedback. And we've already scheduled, yesterday I got on the phone as soon as I got the reports to schedule our initial meeting with the neurofeedback center. What they do there is they retrain the brain waves. And when they retrain the brain waves then train themselves. In other words, once they retrain the brain waves to, ebb and flow in the right manner and not have seizures and not drop information packets, then what will happen is those brain waves will not revert back to the way they were. So once they retrain the brain waves, then the brain waves retrain themselves. And by the way, this neurofeedback center, as it turns out, is less than 10 miles from my house. So me being able to help my boys in a significant manner has been available to me less than 10 miles from my house, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And no doctor told me that this type of testing was available, this type of definitive testing, or this type of treatment was available. I was never given the option. Didn't know what I didn't know. Now, the second piece I wanted to talk about is, in addition to the neurofeedback, we have also seen a behavioral vision therapist. Now, this is not a normal eye doctor. I mean, yes, they do the eye exams and they can tell you whether or not your child is nearsighted or farsighted or needs glasses for reading, that type of stuff. But these behavioral vision therapists, they take it a step further. And what they focus on is they focus on visual processing. In other words, not necessarily just what your child is seeing, but are they able to take that information and process what they're seeing properly in their brain? Huge. We found out when we had the testing done in Dallas that neither one of my boys are processing properly visually. So ultimately, being able to go through some behavioral vision therapy, and that's a thing, again, didn't know what I didn't know, is going to improve their quality of life significantly. And by the way, that doctor or therapist is less than 10 miles from my house also. So all along the last 5 years, I've been drugging, medicating, poisoning my kids when two key therapies that are significantly going to improve their life, that are non-invasive and not drug-oriented, are less than 10 miles from my house. So frustrating. But I didn't know what I didn't know. Now, the prognosis from these two doctors, the one that's going to conduct the neurofeedback therapy and the one that's going to conduct the behavioral vision therapy, is that my boys will be able to be completely off medications. Let me say that again. They have the opportunity to be completely off these mind-altering drugs and lead a successful life. Why didn't anybody tell me that 5 years ago? It's mind-blowing. And I know that every child's situation is completely different. I'm not saying if you go and have these tests done, you're going to find out that your kid's in the same situation as mine and doesn't really need medications after all. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a mom. But what I'm telling you is that this type of testing is available so that you can definitively find out whether or not your child has ADHD or Western medicine. And I'm not saying that there's not times where you shouldn't. I mean, I'm a believer in Western medicine if it's necessary. But what I'm saying is, how many of our kids do you think are being misdiagnosed and wrongfully medicated because they don't know that this testing is available? They don't know what they don't know. Shouldn't we as parents at least find out, especially if we're going to medicate our minors, our little kids whose brains are still being developed, that we actually really have to, that it's really the only option that we have? I mean, as a parent, I can never get back the last 5 years of feeding my kids these poisonous drugs. And I have to live with that. I have to live with that mommy guilt. I mean, they can't get back whatever permanent damage the side effects of those medications have caused. And like I said, I have to live with that. That's mommy guilt that I have to take on and deal with for the rest of my life. But even if I had made the decision 5 years ago, even if I was given the opportunity to make the decision to have these tests done, I might not have been able to. And here's why, okay? I might not have been able to. The doctors convinced me that medicating my kids was the only way that they would have a quality of life. But even if I had known about these tests, who knows whether or not I would have been able to afford it. So I was led down one road, and I was told it was the only road I could go on. There was no fork. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is a fork in the road. There is definitive testing available. I didn't question whether or not the methods that they were using to diagnose my sons with ADHD, autism, and bipolar were the only tests available. I was so grateful to finally have a label to their symptoms. Like, I was grateful almost to hear that they were bipolar and autistic, because at least then I had something to hold on to. I knew what it was. I had an explanation for what was going on with my kids. And I ran with those answers, but they were the wrong answers. And my mama bear comes out because this type of testing is, not readily available, and it's not cost effective. But I implore you, as one mom to another, as a mental health parent to a mental health parent, if your mommy gut, if you feel any part in your mommy gut that you are missing a piece of the puzzle, like you just don't have all the answers to what's going on with your kid, follow your gut. Follow your gut. I waited way longer than I should have to follow mine. I always felt like there was a piece of the puzzle missing and something just wasn't right. I waited too long, and I don't want you to wait too long. I didn't know what I didn't know, but you have the opportunity now to take this information and spread the word to other people who don't know what they don't know. Yes, these tests should be readily accessible and cost effective, but they're not. Yes, these tests should be required before doctors can prescribe minors, narcotics, and other mind-altering drugs, but they're not. Yes, the mental health community should be jumping up and down, spreading the word everywhere that these types of definitive tests are available, but they're not. Yes, lawmakers should be listening to the pioneers in the field of neuroscience and not be influenced by the money behind drug companies, but they're not. So we have to be the voice. We have to be the grassroots, if you will, the grassroots effort to help reach other mental health moms and help fight. I am not going to stop until I'm in front of the Supreme Court or something. Lawmakers need to be focusing on this type of science that's available and not being influenced by drug companies. My psychiatrist didn't even know these types of tests are available because they are taught, raised, believed, and managed to prescribe medications. And that's it. And yes, some kids really do need medications, and I understand that, and I hope that they get the medications that they need. But for me to find out that my kids don't, and I wasn't given the opportunity 5 years ago to go and have these kind of definitive tests done, no matter how expensive, these tests are not covered by insurance. We spent a fortune. The neurofeedback and behavioral vision testing, not covered by insurance. This is going to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Worth every nickel to help improve my kids' quality of life. But why is it not readily accessible and cost effective? It should be the law that these tests are given to minors before a psychiatrist can prescribe a narcotic or other mind-altering drug. And I'm not going to stop until that happens. So please, spread the word. Be an advocate. Help increase awareness. Even if your child doesn't have a mental health illness, please share this video. Get it in the hands of parents you know who may be facing challenges with their kids. Let's make a difference. I'm just one mom. You're just one mom. But I know that we can make a difference. I truly wish you the best of luck on your journey. I appreciate you following along with our journey. I will continue to keep you posted as we get down the path with our neurofeedback and behavioral vision therapies and our weaning off of our medications. I'll keep you updated. But I just beg you, from one mom to another, please follow your gut and spread the word. We can make a difference. Thanks for listening. Wish you all the blessings. Have a great day. Take care.